Sure, and this is the thing as well, though. Progressivism survives and thrives off the idea of people not being nationalistic, and the best way to get rid of nationalism is to import a bunch of people who break up the population and to get rid of the group identity of a nation. So I think that progressives also, the progressives that we do have in our society that I think need to be debated with and argued with. There have been plenty of wars of authoritarians and progressives and Marxists within Western culture, but it is a whole new issue that I think is going to prove to be far more bloody and far more scary than the battle of ideas and free speech that we're having right now, to invite cultures that are so different from ours into the West. Yes, we've always had a problem with progressives. Yes, we've always had a problem with internal debate and criticism of what the future of our nations should be within the West. And a lot of that is based, though, on the idea that debate should happen, that there should be liberal values. But to bring in someone who believes in Sharia, to bring in people who are very tribalistic and only focus on the success of their own language, their own race, their own culture and heritage, that is going to cause so many inter-community wars and battles. We live in a cultural mosaic in Canada here, which means, this is only a recent idea, FYI, which means we have different cultures that stay separate. They are actually supposed to be in their own little regions, which I think is a very silly idea, because what happens when one of those mosaic pieces becomes bigger than the others? What happens when we open our borders and tons of people from China come into Canada and the red part of the mosaic becomes the whole damn picture? It's not going to be a very pretty mosaic anymore, and they are going to dominate the culture. And suddenly it's not going to be Canada anymore. Why don't we just become a part of China? If we do not have a unique language, if we do not have a unique culture, if we do not have distinct values from the rest of the world, then why doesn't Canada just join Egypt? Why don't we become a part of Sweden? Why don't we become a part of China? If we aren't going to be a nation with something distinct, there's no point in having any damn borders or any damn laws or any damn politicians.
Do you? Well, I mean, we don't have a unique language, though. We speak the same language, even though we're not in the same country.
It's unique from different countries, but we say this is a English and French speaking country. You speak English and French here. So, and that's why we tend to get along better with Americans, is because we do have a lot of cultural similarities, which is why I would have far less problem with an American immigrating to Canada than someone from Somalia immigrating to Canada.
So Canada is a good example of this, and let's talk about, I can't believe I didn't think about this till now. Quebec is a province in Canada. French is the official language there. And one of the accomplishments of was Trudeau's dad was to make, please correct me if I'm wrong in this one, was to make Canada officially a bilingual country. America doesn't have an official language. In Canada, all the labels are both in English and in French, right? Do you not? So the Quebec are very different in many ways from the rest of the Canadians. They pride themselves on this. There's a Bloc Québécois in Parliament. There's a big separatist movement in Quebec. Do you not see this as an example of a functional, if not multicultural, at least dual culture?
Is it functional? Because last time I checked,
asking you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about Quebec,
they've attempted to secede into their own country multiple times. They don't really want to be a part of us. In fact, Trudeau has said himself, Quebecers, we're simply better than the rest of Canada. There's a tribalistic mindset to Quebec. There's a tribalistic mindset to the French versus the English Canadians. They've got their own radio stations. They've got their own news stations. If you go there and you don't speak French, they'll look down on you, right? Luckily, the French culture and the English culture, and certainly the French-Canadian culture and the English-Canadian culture, is very, very similar.
Okay.
But if you have a whole area, let's say Marxloh in Germany, where you go there and every single flag on every single window and car is a Turkish flag, tough luck moving there, tough luck getting a job there, tough luck getting married or having friends there if you're not Turkish and you don't speak their language. And that goes for actually moving to French Quebec as well if you're an English speaker. It's not a cohesive culture. People aren't working together. I grew up in Vancouver, and if I went into the Asian-dominated areas, they'd sometimes, there are people that have assimilated and were within my own friend group and community, but for the most part, when people can just go straight from China to a Chinese-speaking community and not have to talk to anyone who's not Chinese, they're not going to bother. Why waste their time? They won't hire white English-speaking Canadians. In fact, they'll sometimes say, we don't serve your kind. Businesses have failed there because they refuse to serve white people. In fact, they have political meetings that are now in Chinese within communities in Vancouver. How are communities supposed to come together and engage and create business and create a group identity, something cohesive that they want to be defended, if they can't even have political meetings in the same language? We really have a lot of questions about who are we? Are we defined by religion? Are we defined by ethnicity? Are we defined by geography, by culture, by gender, by values? And these are questions that need to be answered, and our politicians are not letting us ask those. That's the biggest problem here.
Okay.
I'm not saying I have all the answers. I don't. I've identified a problem, and that problem is we don't know who we are, and there are a lot of disagreements between different tribes, and they aren't working together very well, certainly on a cultural basis. And when it comes to our politicians, when we say we need to have this discussion now, because 50 years from now, we're going to be dealing with Westerners potentially as a majority or as a minority. We're going to be dealing with English speakers in certain areas as a minority. And where are we going to go from there? Are we going to be speaking Chinese in British Columbia in 50 years? I want to know, should I be teaching my kids to speak Chinese? Our politicians look at us and they say, diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. That's all they say. Diversity is not a strength. We can see that in nature. We can see that anywhere. It's not a strength. Being cohesive and having a homogenous society has always caused for more success, less crime. If you look at Japan, they have the least amount of crime almost worldwide. The cops are having to investigate missing panties cases because they have nothing to do. This notion that our politicians should just tell us diversity is our strength and we should ignore it all, it's terrifying. At the very least, I don't have a solution, but at the very least, let smarter people than me have that conversation. Don't ban it. At least let our politicians discuss it publicly. At least put it on the table at universities where it's not allowed right now.